sometimes to do a build, all you need is a little bit of inspiration, and that's this one here. They have done such an extensive job to remove the entire body, like parts that they don't want, and to make it work for the way they want it to work. And this specific one comes from Swanx5W. Yes, thank you for this bit of inspiration. I saw this and I was like, you know what? It's reminding me of my old LMP1 car, and how just I have not gone back to that in a long time, and I really wanted to. So I was in the middle of this, and you know how when you're making a car and eventually after a little while you're like, oh, I was meant to record a video today. Well, that's kind of what happened to me with this one. But oh, I am really happy though with how it turned out. If only this animatic would give me a good camera angle. Oh, please, come on. Next one? No such luck. It's just showing all of the pretty angles. All right, you know what? Cool. Good for you. This is the car that we got. I've cut a lot of it away. I've not done extensively what they've done, but I have done a fair amount. Now, there is a whole bunch of regulations about like having cutaways in the body, which is why in the LeMans Hypercar class that they don't have lots of cutaways anymore. Like most of these will have a fairly solid body in comparison to what we used to have. Like that's probably the most cutaway you'll ever have. See how like uniformly shaped that is? Well, I happened to find out why that is. Straight up on the LeMans Hypercar like Wikipedia page, it's got it all written down here. The frontal surface area must not be below 1.6 meters. Now, I haven't figured that out right yet, but we'll get a tape measure on that a little bit later when I've exported it already. And that is whilst it's viewed from above, which means no major cutaways, much like this one has around here, or from the side or from the front. So fairly uniformly shaped as mostly just the standard body. Now, it's this next part that I found particularly interesting. The engine design is free, with only 4-stroke piston engines being permitted for use. Sure, straightforward. For production-based engines, the block and the head casting must come from the base engine, which, sure, okay, trying to keep it like a uniform sort of engine thing, don't make something that wouldn't be used on the road. Though it can be slightly altered via machining or additional material, which, okay, while the valve angles, number of camshafts, and the location of the camshafts remain as they are fitted on the original engine. Now, you may be looking at that and be thinking like, whoa, what? Why is that specifically noted? Well, for that one, you're going to have to ask Volvo. Okay, so in the BTCC, there was this whole thing about like how the heads had to be the original heads that were used on the road cars, but Volvo wanted one that had like a different port design. So what they did is they chopped their head into 3 pieces and took out the middle part. So Volvo is actually very well known for bending rules. Then there's also a bunch of stuff about hybrid stuff, which we don't have set up yet. I haven't done hybrids in quite a while, and I never made a video on it because it was just really irritatingly complicated to learn. But here we got like conveniently, almost as if it was set up for automation itself, a whole bunch of things here on just like how to easily make this car. So if you want to go ahead and try to make your own LMH car, there's the instructions right here on the Wikipedia. So maximum length of the car, 5 meters. And if you want to be able to figure this sort of stuff out, under miscellaneous fixtures, you've got rulers. Check the 1 meter ruler, then move it to your most furthest back part, go into here and make that line up, and then go ahead and scale it. Now this is a meter long, so about there, and this is 4.85 meters long. And you may be thinking, but Phil, it says it right in the information how long the car is. No, that's actually telling us the wheelbase, not the length of the car itself, so don't be fooled. Because here it says the track width is 139. I got caught up in making this thing wide-bodied, but I actually went through and I measured it, and this is the ruler that I had in here, and yeah, that is 2 meters long. This body is ever so slightly just right on the tippy end of what we're allowed. In fact, actually, this tire is a little bit wider than what it should be. That probably wouldn't pass muster. Anyway, I've tried to keep this basically as realistic as possible. We've got lots of cutaway in here to allow airflow around, got a radiator back there, got a front splitter, got some canards on here. This right here, I can't seem to select it. Oh, right, there we go. That is a wing, but I mean, it's there for a very specific reason. It's because that is usually a little bit of error there there anyway. I got these little slits. This is kind of like one of my favorite things on the entire car, that kind of look on there. Reminds me a little bit of like a Batmobile sort of thing. I just love it so much. And I've done a fairly extensive job of the interior. So if we have a bit of a look around in here, yeah, lovely little dials in there. Oh, okay, well that's not turned out exactly how I wanted it to. Can I shrink that down maybe? Now it looks like you might be able to fit your legs in there and some pedals. That was a bit of an oversight, but yeah, you got a full under tray. Most of it is in a good way. That it's very jank, this game. We've done a fairly decent job, I think. Like the big massive diffuser on there, the multi-element rear wing, all that sort of stuff. It's all great. And we're using the old Ace brand, and this is going to be the racing division of my Ace brand as well. But that's not where the information ends. Amazingly, we've got wheel diameter and wheel widths, of which I am staying within. Maximum output of 500 kilowatts or 670 horsepower? Right on. 499.4 kilowatts. And because of that, there's no engine displacement limit. Like, there's nothing. Do whatever the hell you want. Engine weight, 165 kilos. That is really easy to check. It's right here. Oh, I'm a little bit heavy. Oh, little bit light. There we go. Nope, now I have too much power. Down that cam profile. And perfect. We are now within weight, and we have 499.9 kilowatts. Awesome. I love it so much. And then we got minimum weight of 1,030 kilograms, or whatever those funny numbers mean. I am within, I'm 1.9 kilos over. So we're all good. And that's basically it. That's all you need to know. I think this is fan diddly tat. Like, it's all just summarized so simply. Now, this was one of the things that was coming down about having LeMans Hypercar over the old LM1 category, is because they just wanted things to be simpler, but not drastic. So I think they've done a fairly good job here. And it makes making a challenge car so easy. I am so happy with how this turned out. And test track times? Oh boy, this thing is fast. 149.35. Now, this car is not drastic, by the way. This is a very moderate sort of car in terms of what you can really do with automation. I could put on so many wings. I could give this thing 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 horsepower or something stupid like that. But this is within regulations and not stupid amounts of aero on it. So I think a 149.35 is actually pretty reasonable. I've not tried to minimax anything yet because LeMans Hypercar class is still quite new. So I would suggest if you want to give this a try, oh boy, this is fun. You can make some really cool things. First things you want to do is one, just cut a big old hole in the side. Now what this does is allows air to flow from the front around the wheel well, so you're not building up pressure in there. And then out the back have huge amounts of ventilation and a massive rear diffuser. And if you can't like figure the rest out, then oh boy, just take some mind-altering drugs to help you think more laterally. Actually, don't do that. I'm not condoning the use of drugs. But you get the idea. I'm just messing with you. Let's go export this. This is going to be fine. Now, you may have noticed I have these little camera position placey things. I think that only works if I don't have unbreakable fixtures, but I want unbreakable fixtures, so we're going to put that on and then export the car. Wow, we're not even creating, in my opinion, excessive downforce. Oh, you know what? This is race car. Like, Formula 1 is more than this, but I mean, it's not small by any means. I suppose the Senna, being one of the, probably the most downforce intensive car, only generates 800 altogether. And I am generating about 935 on just the rear. But still, less than Formula 1. So, I mean, I'm not being unrealistic. And in beamng, it looks okay. Doesn't look so bad. There's a little bit of a line here from where I tried to cut away but didn't exactly work. But you know what? This is looking pretty decent. Now, I'm going to try to figure out how this thing handles with just a controller. So we're lined up. I wish I had a clutch, but I decided to go with a the DCT for faster gear changes and everything. Oh, ESC is kicking my butt. Go away. So I think I might need, this is just rear wheel drive as well, by the way. Do I need my steering wheel setup, or is this all good? You know what? It's doing all right, but I feel that this thing would probably actually really enjoy having, oh, it really understeers sometimes. That was weird. Oh, towards the end of corners, I find that this thing sometimes understeers just a smidgen too much. And you notice that this is not a V12 sound or a V6 sound. I went with a V10 because I needed it to be heavier, but I didn't want the V12 because the V12 is currently glitched on audio, if you've watched my previous video on this. But damn, we're gonna take this thing around the Nordschleife and see what sort of time we could put down with that there. Oh no. Oh, this thing is pretty good. It reaches its top speed really quickly too, by the way. If you happen to notice that, like, the long straight on this track is not like hugely long, but it was already starting to reach it. But here we go. 100 meters out, not too bad. You know what? I think this is quite controllable. Now all I have to do is, I think if I break the rig out, I should be able to make it through the Nordschleife without crashing. I also just realized I forgot to activate the tail lights on this car to be actual tail lights. So I might have to try re-exporting that right about now. Also, the lettering is broken. That is unfortunate. Damn it, what? Come on. This is my brand's font. It's meant to work. All right, this cutout, for some reason, every single time I load the body in, I have to scale it to make it work. Just this one. All the other cutouts, everything works fine. Anyway, select these things which I gave as lights. There we go. And now, does this work? Usually in the past, this has been problematic at best. I also just realized that this is a road car. It should probably have some kind of indicator on it. You know what? Quickly, what I'm going to do is, does the camera position work? That seems to work okay. Hood driver, but there's no interior camera. Only hood and UI mode onboard hood driver. So let's try exporting without that and see if it works. Because these little camera thingies don't seem to ever work. I was just maybe thinking that I was doing it wrong. And we have hood, onboard hood driver. Yep, no inside camera. That is super disappointing. We do have tail lights though, nice. Except they're both on when I set one of them to a brake light and the other one to just running light. So if we turn lights on, yeah, it turns on both, which is annoying. Like, what is this, America? But if I put brakes on now, it's not changing for brake lights. That is really irritating. Oh well, I didn't put indicators on, so they probably have to be like American taillights anyway. Let's go take this over to the Nordschleife right now and see how that does. You know, you can go away. Thank you very much. For starters, I had to go in and edit how much drag this car was making because it wasn't letting me get past 297-ish kilometers an hour, but now it'll go up to pretty much the top speed. And then when we get somewhere near there, we'll also find that the numbers are way off. You'll also notice that this thing is pulling to the right. It's because this car is uneven somehow. I'm very confused and I don't entirely understand how that happened. But if we have a look at the numbers here, I did the math and it is creating 528 kilograms of downforce on the front and 682 on the rear, which is very different from what I was getting in automation. The front numbers are only out by about 50 kilograms, but the rear is at about 300 nearly. Like, that's a lot. So if we're getting a lot more traction on the front and less traction on the rear, you'd think that this thing would tend to oversteer. I mean, well, you'd be wrong. So unpause and just turn. The thing understeers at high speed. There is very peculiar things going on that I do not understand about this game right now. I don't know, man. You can fix it by changing these if you want to, but I'm not going to play with that right now because right now I'm going to get my racing rig out and take this to the Nürburgring. But also, I want to quickly show you. I spent a lot of time and effort in here. It's broken. What the hell just happened? Do you see the thing that I've done? Do you happen to see it? It's right there. Whoa, yeah. I'm getting really good at and fast at putting wheels in. It's a lot less daunting now than what it previously was. Let's give this thing its first test around the Nordschleife. And you know what? So far, not so bad, but we haven't really gotten anywhere. My God, that windshield wiper is so goddamn big. And I also realized because I set this to being an interior cam, I don't actually have an RPM gauge because it's expecting the interior to have its own RPM gauge. Oh, I'm very thrown by the fact that I don't have gauge. This is really irritating, actually. Let's just change this to false. There we go. Okay. Now we have control over our gearbox, we have an RPM gauge, we have all that goodness, and we are not going to try to use any driver aids. We're going to try to do this old school. Though driver aids are probably, you know, used quite a lot in Le Mans, which would make sense because that's kind of where driver aids really started out, is in motorsports. Like, I haven't got it, but soon F1 cars in my series of F1 car stuff, they will have traction control. God damn it. That, you know what? We're still driving okay. We have really bad low speed traction. High speed's not so bad. No, yeah, no, we are pulling heavily to one side. Oh dear. This is quite hard to do. I'm probably gonna have to go like full sweat mode on this. So here we got our full lap, and in before anybody starts commenting on it, as you'll see right here, second to fourth, there is a problem with my steering wheel, and I hate it. I can't seem to fix it. It's always been an issue, but it's getting particularly bad in this lap. So it's gonna rob me of a little bit of time, but not robbing me of as much time as, you know, me not being particularly good at racing. Now, this is actually a pretty decent lap. I did go back and do a little bit of retuning of the car as well. So I found that the thing would just lock up too much on the front when it was uneven, which is not so much a brake pressure on the front thing, but more of a thing to do with how it had too stiff of a front suspension. So I stiffened up the rear sway bar and made the front sway bar a little bit softer, which would then allow it to brake in turn a little bit better at the same sort of time. The problem is then that caused the thing to oversteer a lot. So as you'll notice in here, I can put the power down quite a lot on the exit of corners, like just completely fanging it. And what that is I ended up going into the tuning that's in beamng as well. I put a little bit of extra camber on the front, which reduced the front brake force. It then had a little bit of extra toe in on the rear, which under power then would not want to swing out wide, but kind of hold itself in line. And overall, I think this has done a fairly good job. We added a little bit of extra front downforce to the front because this is not acting anything like automation said it was. Now, the devs said that they are still working on a lot of this sort of stuff. We are in an open alpha. This is not a full release version of it yet. And the game itself, the full release version isn't the full release version because we're still in freaking early access. How many years later? It's getting about to be a decade soon, or maybe it is now, I'm not entirely sure. But this lap was really fun to do, and I was in my Discord, I was in there, people watching if they wanted to. And I think that's how I'm going to do it in the future. If you like this sort of stuff, you can join the Discord, and occasionally when I'm doing this sort of stuff, I will probably just pop into a chat for a good, like, 20 minutes to an hour or something like that, and put down some practice laps. Because I did do a whole bunch of practice before we did this, not only just for the tuning part, but also for just, you know, making the video making process so much easier. I'm not good at racing. So my racing time isn't so bad. And they were even in there saying, like, I was doing good times. And I thought I was doing good times enough. But realistically, my consistency is my weakest point. So there's two things. I do have pretty severe ADD, and I get distracted so easily. And you'll notice on the ceiling of this car, a lot of the times it's very shiny and reflective. It's not doing it right now because now I'm talking about it and doesn't want to show it. And the other thing is, I have an inability to do things moderately. I can't go like, oh, I'll brake just a little bit earlier, all that sort of stuff. It's somehow not in my DNA. I'll be going into a corner and be like, I have to take this carefully, and then I'll like know when my brake point is. I was like, oh, you know what? I can just go a little bit faster. I have no like risk aversion when it comes to that. Now I know that it's a lot different to real life. In real life, I am considerably better, but it makes it really problematic. So I went into the Discord, I did a whole bunch of practice, then I tried to do the lap a whole bunch of different times, set up a recording, and finally caught the good lap that happened. And I'm gonna be honest, with the initial tune, the one that comes right with the car, not great. But with adding on those little bit of extra bits, this car becomes so good. Now, it hates curbs altogether. Like, any sort of curb touching, horrible. Here, though, on the carousel, it's a little bit better. And you know the Porsche 919 Evo, which everyone knows because it's such a phenomenal lap, they went around that. Now, I didn't have to because my car isn't real. Honestly, the collision mesh probably doesn't work quite exactly like that, and it's a game. It's not exactly the same. If I was doing this in real life, I probably would have gone on the top side as well, to be entirely fair. God, this... I'm watching this back now. I recorded this yesterday, and today is when I'm doing the recording. Today being like the day in which this video releases. And it is... I love watching racing stuff. This is just so much fun. I'm actually a little bit trans. I'm finding it hard to talk because it is just so cool to watch, like, the road-huggy nature of the car. If I was to go back and redo this car, though, the one thing I might change is I might put on a slightly thicker tire wall to give a little bit more give and play in the car. Maybe soften up the suspension all around just a smidge. I found, though, if it was too much softer, though, it was bottoming out quite badly. And I am using progressive springs. I don't know if progressive springs honestly actually work the way in which progressive springs work in real life. I might do a little bit of a test. So the thing about progressive springs is that they are soft and hard in different parts of the spring. The spring will actually change geometry as it goes. So it's got quite hard suspension for like all the corner hugging and all that sort of stuff. The softer part is a little bit more aimed towards hitting like big bumps. It'll take a lot of that big bump. It's not the most sporty sort of spring, but when we're in beamng, it really does need something quite like that to help deal with the bumpy nature of stuff. And you can see there that the thing doesn't squat at all on exit of corners. In there, like, there's almost no give, and oh boy, you still do have to control the throttle quite a lot on the exit of corners. I wonder if maybe an active sport would work. It probably doesn't actually translate, but I'd like to know. Oh god, yeah, I lost a whole bunch of time right there. I completely forgot about that. Hitting onto the back straight, this probably cost me about 4 seconds alone, just on that corner exit of the last thing. It got squirrely and there was just nothing I could do. This is probably about my 15th try or something ridiculous like that. Until I actually was able to put a lap down. And it was one of the last corners, like, you know what, no, screw it. This is it. This is the lap I'm doing. I'm not going back to do this again. The only thing that I would also like to do is get the beamng devs to fix the time trial sort of hot lapping stuff in the top right of the screen to make that actually work. But here we go. We're coming down to the second to last corner, getting it turned in a little too early there, but corrected and got it right. And the time. 6 minutes and 50 seconds. Remember how I was talking about the Porsche 919 Evo? That did a 5-minute 19. So I could probably knock off about 20 to 30 seconds just by practicing by myself. But anybody else would probably, like, that's really good at sim racing, might be able to knock off an extra 5 to 10, maybe 15 seconds. But not bring it down to that fast. That is how fast that Porsche is. That Porsche is just absolutely ridiculous. But that's where we're going to wind up today's episode. I hope you did enjoy this. I am probably going to put this up on the beamng repository, so keep an eye out for that. You know what, actually, I am going to put this on the beamng repository. It's not the most amazing car, it's not the most amazing looking car either, it's just a pretty good car, and I would like to actually know what you guys can do as a lap time around the Nordschleife. So put that in the comments. I do genuinely, like, if you're better or worse, I just want to engage how well I did. Even with all my mistakes, even with my dodgy wheel, I just want to see. So let me know, please. Also, don't forget to like, and if you're not subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe. But for now, I'll catch you all next time. Goodbye.